Some stories, no matter how old they are, just feel incredibly modern. And this is one of them. We're talking about a family business, some serious simmering resentment, and a wild, high-stakes escape after 20 years of working for a very, very difficult father-in-law. This isn't just an ancient text. It's a timeless drama about what happens when family and business finally hit a breaking point. And right here, this is where it all starts to boil over. It begins with whispers, right? The grumbling of Jacob's brothers-in-law. They're looking at Jacob's success, his massive flocks, his growing wealth, and they don't see 20 years of hard work. No, they see a con man, someone who's stolen what they believe is their birthright. This jealousy, this bitterness, it's the spark that's about to light the whole fuse. So that's the big question, isn't it? What could possibly push a man to pack up his entire world, his wives, his kids, everything he owns, and just flee in the dead of night? We're going to dig into how 2 decades of this super complicated family relationship completely unraveled into a desperate chase across the wilderness. Okay, so Jacob's decision to just up and run, this wasn't something he decided on a whim. It was the result of a long, slow, painful decay of trust and respect. Let's look at what finally pushed him over the edge. It starts with a feeling. Jacob just starts to notice that his father-in-law, Laban, doesn't look at him the same way anymore. That warmth, that favor, it's just gone. And in its place, suspicion. Now, when you're living and working that closely with family, a shift like that is this constant, unnerving pressure. The personal bond, which was the foundation of the whole deal, was starting to crack. And get this, Jacob's complaint wasn't just some vague feeling. He had the receipts, so to speak. He claims Laban cheated him not once, not twice, but 10 separate times by changing his wages. Can you imagine that frustration? Every time you think you've got a fair deal locked in, your boss, who's also your father-in-law, changes the rules. That number, 10, it makes his grievance feel so real and so repetitive. And then comes the final shove. Right as the tension with Laban is at an all-time high, Jacob gets a message from God. It's a direct command. Go home. Go back to your father's land, and I'll be with you. Suddenly, this isn't just a guy running from a bad job anymore. This is a divine mission. It gives him the validation and, frankly, the courage to make such a huge move. All right, so the decision is made. He's got a divine green light and a relationship that's totally in pieces. The plan is set in motion. And this isn't just about leaving. It's about pulling off a massive secret operation right under Laban's nose. Now, you might be wondering, what did Jacob's wives think about all this? About leaving their own father? Well, this quote says it all. Rachel and Leah are 100% on board. They feel like their own dad has treated them like outsiders, like he sold them off and then just wasted the money. They see all of Jacob's wealth not as something he stole, but as the inheritance that rightfully belongs to them and their kids. Their support is absolutely crucial. So Jacob picks the perfect moment. While Laban is off shearing his sheep, he gets his whole family onto camels, rounds up his enormous flocks, and just slips away. But then, in a move that cranks the drum up to 11, Rachel secretly steals her father's personal household idols. This one act of theft is about to turn this family getaway into a furious confrontation. And just like that, the secret's out. What started as a quiet escape has now become an intense, open pursuit. The chase is on. I mean, think about the intensity here. It takes 3 whole days for Laban to even find out that Jacob is gone. And then he and his relatives are in hot pursuit for 7 straight days. A full week, just riding as hard as they can across the wilderness before he finally corners Jacob's camp in the hills of Gilead. Can you even imagine the tension building over those 10 days? But just as Laban is about to roll in and unleash all his fury, something amazing happens. The night before the big showdown, God shows up in Laban's dream with a very clear, very blunt warning. The message is basically, I'm warning you, leave Jacob alone. This completely changes the power dynamic. Laban arrives ready for a fight, but his hands are tied. So when Laban finally confronts Jacob, you can hear the raw anger, but you can also hear that divine restraint. He accuses Jacob of being deceitful, of dragging his daughters away like they're prisoners of war. But then he gets to the real heart of it, the thing that's really bothering him. But why? Why did you steal my gods? For Laban, these weren't just little statues. They were his family's legacy, a symbol of his authority. And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. It becomes this tense little thriller, playing out right in the middle of this big family blow-up. It's all about the search for those stolen idols. You can just feel Laban's frustration growing with every step. He tears through Jacob's tent, nothing. Then he goes through Leah's tent, still nothing. He searches the tents of the servants, nothing. And finally, he arrives at the tent of his favorite daughter, Rachel, who is, of course, the actual thief. And this, right here, is Rachel's masterstroke. As her father is searching her tent, she just stays sitting on the camel saddle, the exact spot where she's hidden the idols. And she uses this perfectly plausible excuse, something that in their culture would make it incredibly awkward for her father to demand that she get up. It is a brilliant, quick-witted deception, and it works. Laban finds absolutely nothing. So now that he's been cleared of theft, the dam just breaks. Jacob's own anger finally explodes. For the first time in this whole confrontation, he is on the offensive. He just unleashes 2 decades of pent-up frustration, all the years of slaving away, the sleepless nights protecting the flock, and all the while, Laban kept changing the deal. It's just this powerful, fiery tirade. So after all the accusations are out in the open and Jacob's furious defense is still hanging in the air, the whole vibe of the confrontation shifts. The raw anger starts to cool, and it turns into, well, a tense negotiation about the future. Laban, having lost the argument and having been warned by God, completely changes his strategy. He knows he can't hurt Jacob, and he can't force him to come back. So he proposes a covenant, which is just a very formal, solemn, and binding agreement. This isn't about making up. It's about damage control and drawing a line in the sand. Permanently. And the terms of this treaty say everything. First and foremost, Laban's concern is for his daughters. You must not mistreat them. But after that, it's all about separation. They literally set up a pile of stones as a boundary marker, and both men swear an oath. I will not cross this line to harm you, and you will not cross this line to harm me. It's a border, plain and simple, with God as the witness. And with that, this chaotic 20-year chapter of their lives comes to this really somber end. They share one last meal together, and Laban kisses his daughters and his grandchildren goodbye. Then he turns around and heads for home, while Jacob continues on his own way. They part, forever separated by that pillar and their oath. So you have to ask, what was this really? Was it a peace treaty that healed a fractured family, or was it the official creation of a border between 2 rivals who just couldn't live near each other anymore? This deeply personal family feud, this line drawn in the sand between a father-in-law and a son-in-law, would end up creating a boundary that would have consequences that echoed for generations to come.